thank you for dropping in. My name is Bill Morse, and this is the program, What Do You Think? It's a call in program in which you call in with answers or an answer to a question that I pose. Today is March 11th, 2021, and last week I wish to apologize for a technical glitch. Some of you may have tried calling in and were frustrated by the number. I assure you we're all set, and if you would like to join in the conversation, all you have to do is tap into your phone the 1929 number that you see at the bottom of your screen, followed by the meeting ID number, and then finally the password. It's a lot of digits, it's a lot of numbers to tap in, but I promise you it will be worth the effort. Now, last week the topic was, or the question was, if you had the resources to live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? If you could live anywhere, where would it be and why would you choose that location? This is a multifaceted question. I was thinking about it myself over the last week or so. And it's not just a location, but it can also be a way of living. I know of some people in my family that lived in an RV, a recreational vehicle, and they towed around a small compact car, and they would go from state to state on the interstate system or on local state highways. And they would spend 6, 7, 8 months a year doing this, starting from their home in California. That might be an option that you're interested in, living in a comfortable RV and traveling wherever wherever those gas miles will bring you. Another possibility, and I've had one friend in my life do this, is living on a boat, either a motorboat, what sailboaters refer to as a stink pot, or a sailboat, and I'm not quite sure what some of the terms are for a sailboater. But I do know someone who lived on a sailboat, had all their needs taken care of, small galley ahead towards the bow, small shower, and they were quite comfortable on the boat, and their style of living was going from port to port and visiting people or making new acquaintances. So that may be an option that you've been thinking of perhaps. We're getting out of a winter that many would describe as a little harsher than usual, certainly harsher than the previous winter. And perhaps with the warmer weather, I think today it hit 60 here in the Bellows Falls area, you may be thinking, well, now that cabin fever is over and I can walk around a little bit easier, where would I like to go? And also, restrictions are being lifted. Perhaps not fast enough for some people, but restrictions are being lifted on a state-by-state level so that travel is easier, at least within this country. Overseas travel is still not possible in many places because of the restrictions in those countries. So, sailboat, motorboat possibility. I don't know of anybody who does this, but perhaps you do. Someone who travels by plane and actually does their hopping instead of an RV or a sailboat, a motorboat, might go in a plane with what they need, and they just go from airport and then go into the town or wherever and spend time there. I mean, granted, that takes that takes more resources than certainly the vast majority of us possess, but it's definitely a possibility, and it's something to perhaps think about or dream about. So, again, the question is, if you could live anywhere in the world today, and had the resources to carry it off, where would you live? Now, I find that, and then to answer that question, you just call in the number at the bottom of the screen starting with 1929. That's the Zoom number. And once you make that connection, you will be asked for a meeting identification number, meeting ID number, and then a password. And once you do that, then you are connected live to us here in the studio. All right? So, I know that some people, or many people, when they visit a location during vacation or they visit a friend, someone they knew in the military or someone they knew in college or high school that lives outside of the area in another state or wherever, you go and visit and you think, this is not a place, not a bad place. I like the weather. People are friendly. It's not too expensive. There's interesting stuff to do. And I could picture myself perhaps spending a couple of months here at the least. So I think for many people, that initial contact with another location is what sets them to thinking. Or perhaps it's a location that you've seen on television or through other sources of the media, and you think, that's interesting. I might like to go there. YouTube certainly has many drive-through or drive-by videos whereby you're in the passenger seat next to the driver, and through the cam on the dashboard, you're watching a neighborhood go by. Houses, buildings on either side, parked cars, people hanging out, or people taking care of their business, whatever. And you kind of get a very fleeting sense of that very fleeting image of that sense of place. So perhaps you've seen some place that you would like to live, or I think very popular now are places you would not want to live. And there's a certain voyeurism that goes into virtually visiting a place that you would think twice of walking down the street or being on the sidewalk. But anyway, the point being, that's another way of visiting places. We have a lot of virtual means of visiting places that we don't physically have to be there in order to get a sense of what this place is like, what most people in this area do, what the lifestyle is like, the nightlife, what people do over the weekend, etc. So perhaps that's given you ideas. I know myself as a teenager, I could not wait to leave high school. We did not have an early out program. You had to stay in school till you were 18. And most people go to college. Not most people. Some people go to college. Other people go to a trade school. Many people just take a time off. And then if they have money saved up from a part-time job or other sources, then they go to do a little bit of traveling. I remember I'm almost 65, so I remember the late 60s and 70s, hitchhiking was a very popular way of getting around, either in our own country or overseas. I think perhaps that's not quite as easy to do nowadays because there's and here I'm going to take a little jab at the media. And for some cases, it's warranted. There's a fear factor. The trust level between strangers now, I think, is very low, and people are afraid of different things. Most of it, the unknown. But going back to the 60s and 70s, hitchhiking was a way of getting around and visiting a place. So again, what I'm saying is an initial visit someplace would possibly spark your interest to spending more time there, especially if you had good interpersonal contact with people, strangers that were friendly and that you could actually have a conversation with and a give and take. But I think that's very, very important to get a sense, a welcoming sense of where you are at the time. I had spent some time in high school. I was lucky. I knew someone in Manhattan and through my parents, and was able to visit and actually take in some of the cultural life, the museum, the Met, actually a couple of Broadway shows or musicals from the late 60s, early 70s. Broadway at that time was it was probably one of several golden eras that Broadway has experienced. So anyway, a lot of attraction there. And it was a mixed bag. I'm talking late 60s, early 70s. And so once I finished with college, I was on the 6-year plan. So I wasn't really focused all the time. I actually wanted to travel, and I did travel. I went to New York, and I would advise a good way to spend time in a new setting is to rent. And if there's pluses and minuses as far as having roommates. Obviously, when you're in college or when you're in the military, you more often than not have roommates, and that helps break the ice when you go off into a strange neighborhood, or if you go into a strange location, a bar, for example, and you have somebody with you. You feel less vulnerable, and generally people are more prone to open up. I've also found out that it helps to have a dog, to walk a dog if you're in a neighborhood for the first time, to break ice. Dogs are excellent icebreakers, especially small, non-threatening ones. Uh, Larger ones that can be give people the wrong first impression that sometimes can backfire, and you have the opposite effect of breaking ice. So anyway, just a thought. Before considering living in another place, making that what actually is a pretty serious commitment. Renting is a very good option just for a year. If you don't like the place and you're still stuck with 2 or 3 months on the rent, sometimes you can buy your way out of that. If not, then you're out a couple of hundred. Well, could be out a little bit more than several $100. But the point is, you did not make a commitment that you're going to regret from there on. So renting is a pretty good option. Uh, Also, it trains you. I think when you decide to live in another place, another location that you're not totally familiar with, but that you're lured through different qualities that you've heard about or experienced through a previous visit. Uh, Even as a renter, you can meet neighbors. You can get a sense of where your block is. That is, if you're living in an urban area or even a suburban area, how people live, what it's like on a Saturday night, what it's like Monday morning. So all these things are kind of important to take in. The neighbors, the house, the apartment where you live, what you like about it, what you don't. Can you live with a small bedroom? Can you live with a bathtub that's in your kitchen? I bring that up because when I was in Manhattan, I actually lived in the Bronx, but I had friends and I went to school in Manhattan. A lot of railroad flats in the Upper East Side and other Manhattan neighborhoods, I'm sure Brooklyn as well, perhaps the Bronx. You took a bath in your kitchen. The bathroom itself was just the toilet and a wash basin. And the bathtub was in the kitchen. And my friend Robert had a bathtub, a clawfoot tub in his kitchen, and I thought it was pretty cool. I think that apartment he had to leave because the landlord That's another thing with rentals. If you're in a place that's very up and coming, if it's being gentrified, in other words, gentrified, the gentry is taking an interest and wants to live there for whatever reason, the landlords will terminate your lease at the end of the contract. And good, we're still on. And oh, we have two calls. Thank you very much. I don't have to go on. Oh, wait. In the meeting too. So somebody, waiting room. Okay, very good. Hello. Hi, you're on the air with Bill Morse.
Hi, it's Carla again.
Hello, Carla.
I just wanted to say there is a place that I did want to maybe live. I'm not sure if I still do. And that's Bowers Beach in Delaware. I really like that area. It's right on the bay. And, or is it it's the ocean. And it's a small kind of, not a fishing community, but I'm sure there's lots of fisher people out there, fishermen, fisherwomen. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of rough and rustic. And you're only a couple miles really away from, you know, places to go shopping or whatever. And yet you're far away enough that you have this kind of seaport kind of village. So that would be an area I'd really like to live. I almost got a house there, but that fell through. But I did hear part of your conversation. I agree with you. I think it's kind of nice to live in an area or rent if you could, or visit it, or get to know people. Just, you know, see if you like the community, what it offers, the energy that's there. But I really like that community. I like the ocean air. The light is very different. I know it does flood down there, so that's a concern for me. But it's just, I like communities that are not too pretty. I want them to be pretty, but not too manicured, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And I want a community where I can walk around and enjoy it. So I keep thinking there's also a place called Cambridge in Maryland that I like, that's actually more like a very small city, but it's also on the water. So you could have both, you know, you have this kind of cool vibe downtown where you could have coffee or go to a gallery when things open up, let's hope. Or you could go down to the park and be right by the water. But Bowers Beach has a little bit more of an edge for me, just because it's just this cool kind of, like, not fancy, but very cool vibe, like low key. And you have a certain amount of privacy, I think, there. So anyway, just putting it out there.
Would you consider renting a place there for the season as an introduction to living there full time?
That would be actually, I think that's actually a great idea. I know we had talked about Hampton Bay, New Hampshire. Went there to visit the other day, and that was a lot of fun. But again, I agree. I think if you could go even for a couple weeks or something, it would be great to just kind of see if you like the area, and if you like the vibe and the people and all that. And so that's a good suggestion, actually.
Well,
so it's something to think about.
The only reason I'm bringing that up, the rental possibility, is that you've got a very, I'm assuming you live in the area. You have a very different topography. In other words, here we're along a river. You have the beginnings of mountains, and I think Delaware is fairly flat, and you have beaches, of course, and you have that wide blue expanse of water, and then the horizon where two different blues kind of merge, and it's very, very different. And I think a rental might be interesting to see if it the appeal lasts or if the novelty of looking out over the blue water wears off.
Exactly.
I'm just posing this question as an uninterested third party.
Yep.
Many people are here in Vermont and New Hampshire because they like the mountains, the topography, the lakes, the river. And if they went to Florida or Delaware or some other state where it's flat, they would feel something not quite right. And if they went there, perhaps they would feel much more comfortable coming back. Renting a place during the season, preferably during the summer season or during the season that you would most like to get the best experience possible in that new location. That might be something to seriously consider.
Yep, I think that's a good suggestion, and I would take that into consideration. But it's definitely an area that I would like, and I think I would even like it off-season. Well, I'll get off the line so you can talk to your other person that calls in. I'm curious to see where they'd like to live.
Okay, thank you very much, Carlene. Thank you for stopping by.
Yep, thank you for the opportunity
Sure.
to accept my ideas.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, let's see. There we are, back again. So, again, we have maybe another minute or two of the program. If you would like to call and just make a brief mention of where you would like to live, if you had the opportunity and the resources to do it, where would it be? Perhaps you have already rented or had a short stay of 3 or 4 weeks someplace and said, you know what, I like it here. I felt better when I was there. Maybe I could bring my family there, or my job reasons, it would work. Another consideration is work, income, when making such a move. So anyway, that's something to consider. And next week, we will have a new question. And I hope that you will tune in again and call and participate. I'm not quite sure what the question will be for next week, but it'll be thought-provoking and hopefully engaging enough so that you will consider calling and participating. Again, I wish you a good rest of the week, and thank you for tuning in. Again, you can always leave a message for me. My name is Bill Morse here at the studio as to a possible topic for a question. So, again, good night and good evening. Not that late yet. And hope you stop by again next Thursday at 6 p.m. Thank you.